My wife drops a bombshell on me after we get married. She tells me, hey, by the way, I want to be child-free. Well, that's a news to me because I've always wanted a child. Well, I was trying to get to the bottom of it, why all of a sudden she decides to do this, when I came across a deep, dark secret. It turns out she already has 3 children with her ex, and those 3 children she decides not to tell me about? Yeah, but it gets even deeper. Let me tell you exactly what else she was hiding. I met Ari a couple years ago, and I knew she was the woman of my life from the very first moment. I met her on an outing with my friends from work. One of them took her and told me that she had been single for a while, as she had suffered a lot with her previous relationships, to the point where she did not want to talk about it. She had not known Ari for very long, as they had met at the same time in a theater improv class. Ari was beautiful, with dark hair that she always tied back in a ponytail, a thing I loved all my life, and although it sounds a bit vain of me, I feel like she was watching me a lot that night. I could not help but ask her for her phone number at the end, and not to be too desperate, I wrote her the next day. She pretended not to remember me, but I told her that those kinds of performances weren't all good, as you could tell by looking at her that she was interested in me. We hit it off instantly and decided to go out on our own a week later. To this day, I still remember the cute dress she wore. I must say that she has a very good body, as she claims to have been in the gym since high school. And although she had a few scars on her lower area, she told me it was from emergency surgery she had as a teenager. Something about polycystic ovaries, a condition her mother also had, and I think one of my cousins too. That's why I believed her right off the bat. We had a long relationship before we were formal boyfriend and girlfriend. About 6 months or so before we left the movies and went to a hamburger stand, and in the middle of a bite I told her if she wanted to move up to the big leagues. She almost choked, something that gave me a good laugh, but she said yes, and so we stayed that way for a little less than a year, which I must admit was a little harder to weigh than I thought. I say this because she was, quote, busy with a lot of her daily life issues. There were times when I would tell her to go out, but she would make excuses like she had to do laundry at 8 o'clock at night. And I know they were excuses because then I would tell her to help, or, following the same example, do the laundry at the same time as she would tell me it's not necessary to do everything together, which I believed her for quite some time. It was then that certain problems began to arise, as the lack of time or commitment for important occasions for the both of us, such as when I received a promotion at work. I wanted to celebrate with her with a dinner that night, but she told me she was sick and would be in bed all night, even though a few hours earlier we had seen each other and she seemed fine. I, as a boyfriend, am very attentive in the sense that I care quite a bit about my partner's things, as I want her to be as comfortable as possible, sometimes at the risk of my own effort. And that's when I committed an unbelievable blunder. Following a conversation I had with one of my friends at work, we'd already had over a year of getting to know each other, so I decided to take her out to a fancy restaurant to celebrate our first anniversary. As we finished dessert, I got down on one knee, and I said the magic words, "Ari, would you like to make me the happiest man in the world?" Too corny, I know, but it felt like a movie, and she didn't really hesitate to say yes. By then, I did feel like the happiest man in the world, even if I exaggerate a bit in saying it. Then we moved in together, did all the formalities, and started to touch on the typical marriage issue, which, in retrospect, I realized we could have done earlier. No, we should have touched on them earlier, to avoid conflict. Property, buying house, arranged schedules, transporting goods, having babies, that's the part that spawned this whole story. The thing is that although it may not seem like it, I've always wanted to have children. It's something I don't talk about very often, but seriously, I've always had the idea of starting a family, and that's a point that married couples have to touch on at some point. The first time we did it, I was met with a pretty quick and blunt answer. No. That's right, all caps and bold. She said she did not want to have children for whatever reason were available. For overpopulation, for ruining her body, for not generating more expenses, for enjoying her youth. And I'm open-minded. I told her I would have no problem with adopting a child. Adopting being a quite reasonable solution to every argument she made, but she immediately refuted and no. She did not want to, and it was final. Well, nothing I could do could change it. That seemed pretty strong to me, and to be honest, for the first time in our entire relationship, I began to have doubts about her. Even more than when she would cancel my outings to see me before we got married. At one point, I even told myself that we got married too fast, but my parents got married only 6 months after they met, so I subconsciously took it as an example to follow. Big mistake. Update number 1. I fell asleep last night, sorry. I'll continue with the story. Well, this whole thing about kids and why we should not have them had been a reoccurring theme since we got married, and we went on like this for a whole year. Let's see. This enjoying our money and youth thing I did not see as reliable since we both earn very well, but she kept having this strange idea of enjoying as much as possible. And a week ago, I found out what was going on. I learned it in the worst possible way, I say. I went to visit her at work, but she was in a meeting, so I knew my wait could be anywhere from 10 minutes to 2 hours. I spoke to the receptionist, and she told me that Ari had been visiting earlier in the day by her ex and her son. Having left her a Mother's Day gift, first of all, I did not remember it was Mother's Day, so I had to write to my mother, and second of all, Ari had a child? When? Where? How? With whom? Her ex? A million questions came to my mind, and I did not feel I would get an answer right away. I asked the receptionist, as my thing, her ex? And she said yes, the tall dark-haired man who had accompanied her to work years ago. That meant her son must have been at least about 4 years old. And I tell you, I did not care that the meeting lasted 3 days. I still sat at the reception desk waiting with my legs shaking for my wife to attend to me because she owed me a lot of explanations. When she came out, I smiled at her and she seemed to have seen a ghost. I threw her the greatest phrase to make someone desperate. We have to talk. We went to the house and there I faced her. I asked her what it had been about her ex and her son, with her looking confused at first. Then she told me she had no idea, dodging the issue. I confronted her and told her I had to come clean. I really can't describe the huge game of cat and mouse that we had that night, to the point where we were almost going to sleep in separate rooms over something I did not know for sure to this day. It wasn't until 11 o'clock at night that she, sitting in the kitchen with tears starting to flow, confessed everything to me. Listen to me. What am I going to do? What I'm going to tell you right now might scare you, but I haven't been completely honest with you since we first met. First of all, I must apologize for all this stuff about wanting children and so on. The truth is that I've had children before. Well, when I heard this sentence, I felt my whole world collapse. Children? Many of them? That alone indicated to me that there was more than one, and that if the man who appeared in her office was just part of a more extensive past, well, at one point I felt like I wanted to have the divorce papers in front of me, but I could not say anything, because I also had a large part of the blame in this situation. I have 3 children with 2 exes. We never got married or anything like that, and that's why in my documentation I've always been marked as single. The truth is, I never wanted them, and they had no problem accepting them. Or so I thought. Well, this was perhaps one of the biggest shocks I've ever had in my life. The way this woman spoke so matter-of-factly about detaching from her children was so low that it even made me want to run out of there. She was completely unfamiliar with the area I knew, coming across as cold and oblivious to others. I asked her why she hid her past from me and why she was trying to turn a blind eye to it. It should be noted that this all happened on Mother's Day with my wife, who never decided to see her other children. When I asked her about them, she said, "The one who welcomed me into my office is my oldest son. I think he's like 6 or 7. The one I have had the most relationship with. My ex insists that I have to be a part of his life, but I've told him that I just want to go out on my own. He was the one who insisted on having him, even though I told him several times that I would, well, you know what I mean." By then, I was shaking from all the ideas I had in my head. We were talking about it if we had accidentally gotten pregnant. That would have been her alternative, getting rid of the baby? I asked her for more information about it, and that's when I understood better all the scheduling complications we had all this time. It was true that I needed to get to know the other person better, and I ended up falling in love with an idea in a hurry, but I don't plan to sit idly by with this. About the second one, she told me that he had no problem keeping both children, both boys, and he's the one with whom she had the most stable relationship with. Well, the next day, or rather a few hours later after we finished the discussion, it was very late by then, past midnight. We continued the conversation, and I told her that for the time being, we should be honest as much as possible. She told me that she considered me as a boyfriend option after a long time. Well, because of the commitment I was putting into the matter and that it hurt her to lie to me. I told her so many things that I lost count, and I told her that in that case I needed space. And that's when I came to my parents' house. If I'm honest with you, I'm considering divorce as an alternative, but this is only because I'm noticing that she does not pay due attention to her relationship with her children. And it's something that does not make me feel completely comfortable. A mother should be a part of her children's lives no matter what, and if that's where we're going, that means I won't be able to have the ideal family with her. We'd better talk later. She's calling me, and I don't know what she's going to say. I hope it's not something that makes me worry, though. Update number 2. I've had a bad taste in my mouth. I separated from Ari only a year into our relationship, but I knew it was the best thing for me. And yet the woman did not go down without a fight. Turns out she did not want a divorce, claiming that I was the only person she ever truly loved in her life, as if a new interest in me had arisen, believing that I would love her above all else. But the situation took a somewhat bitter turn when I learned about the status of her other children. With the first guy, there was a lousy relationship where she was almost not part of her son's life, and although she had to pay child support, she did not do it on time or in full, showing disinterest at all. Something I did not think was possible, since in most cases it's the mother who ends up staying with the children. Regarding the second man, he was happy with his 2 children and his wife, but he was constantly getting messages from Ari telling him things. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what I'll give you. Plausible grounds as divorce. Something that helped me file the papers despite Ari's objections. I would tell the other guy to leave him alone, then tell him I missed him, and the next day wishing him all the evil in the world. I feel a little sorry for the guy, honestly, as I saw his pictures and he looks like an ordinary family man. Also, marrying someone would give her liberties concerning certain interactions with her kids or something, and that was the icing on the cake in this whole thing. I came in with lawyers with the coldest heart of all, and told Ari that we could no longer stay together because of this and that. Well, she put up a fight, got defensive, and even told me if she had been with me solely and exclusively to give her children. But I said no. I told her no. I was with her because of the idea that I could be with someone I could relate to, and who shared common interest with me. I don't see leaving your family behind as a particular interest for me. I think the worst part of all of this was an interaction I saw with one of her sons. Because of divorce issues, an audience was requested with the first guy, the one who had left her with a Mother's Day gift. He brought their son because he really could not leave him to someone else, and I had to witness the most horrible scene of my life, watching a mother feigning interest in her own child. The child was looking at her all the time, and Ari almost as if she were someone else,
responded to everything the infant said with a yes, 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 just trying to avoid him. The child seemed excited to be with his mother, but for her it was a problem that she wanted to get rid of as soon as possible. After all that, she tried to reach out to me, but I told her I just could not be with a person like that. Now that I remember, she even mentioned at one point about me getting a vasectomy, and I told her I didn't want to, but then she said, "But what's the point if you're not going to have a baby with me?" And I think I even considered it at one time, as sad as that sounds. And well, I'm currently divorced and going to therapy, because something like that does not heal easily. I'm learning about how to see the other person I'm going out with and always ask for a minimum of trust beforehand. And to top it all off, in the divorce, Ari was asked to give me payoffs for the assets that have been purchased by me once we started dating. But instead, I gave a better option, that she gives those payments to her children so she could give them the attention they deserve. I like things in order, and she should pay for her absence. I only hope those kids can have what they deserve and what I also deserve. Someone who can love them with sincerity.
Okay. So the comment section of this story was absolutely ripping the mother, saying, "How can you just abandon your 3 babies like that and just go on all willy-nilly pretending like nothing even matters in life with them, and you go ahead and marry someone else and don't even open up your feelings and tell him, 'Hey, by the way, I have 3 kids already, that's why I don't want any more with you.' You keep it a deep dark secret for some strange reason." But I'll be honest with you, the comment section was absolutely ripping her to shreds. Let me know your thoughts about this story. Drop it down in the comment section. Let's discuss it. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. If you're new to the channel and you want more videos, go ahead and check out my playlist. You can find that in the description below. It has a lot of my favorite stories, including some crazy mother-in-law stories that a lot of people say are absolutely insane. I met this beautiful woman named Claire. It was on a vacation on a cruise, and, well, to our surprise, we basically fell for each other. Can you imagine our joy? At the end of the trip, when we're both leaving, well, she's getting on the same airplane as me. Well, what? She lives in the same state as me? Wait, she lives in the same city? Wait, she lives in the same neighborhood? Yeah. Long story short, I married her. Well, that's not why I'm here today. I'm here today to tell you everything I've gone through because it turns out Claire is a nightmare.
Hey everyone, I've been a part of this group for a while now, reading, sympathizing with other people's stories, and now I have one of my own that I need some advice on. I married my wife, who I'll call Claire, 5 years ago, when we were both 25 years of age, and we'd met 2 years previously while on vacation in Malta. I'd booked an all-exclusive trip for myself after getting out of a very toxic relationship, and I ran into Claire at the hotel bar. Lucky me, right? It felt like love at first sight, and we spent the next week doing everything together. When we were due to leave the resort to travel back home, we realized that not only were we getting the same flight back to the States, but we also lived in the same neighborhood. It seemed like fate wanted us to be together, so we continued seeing each other as often as we could. I tried to treat Claire to as many luxury dates as possible, as my last girlfriend had used my lack of income as part of the reason she was so emotionally abusive of me. Of course, I knew that it wasn't my fault, she was such a cruel person, but her words stuck with me, and I think I was trying to overcompensate a bit with Claire. Little did I know at the time that I was setting a standard that would unfortunately follow me through our relationship. If I was asked to describe Claire on one of the first things, I would say she's very expensive taste. I'd seen this while on vacation when we met, and she chose to eat at the classiest restaurants and would order the most expensive wines at dinner. But I mistakenly assumed that this was her treating herself while on holiday. When we got home and continued to see each other, I was surprised when she insisted on extravagant dates and pricey gifting. I did try to tone down her expectations by doing rustic dates every so often, but basically resigned myself to the fact that if I wanted to keep Claire in my life, I had to spend quite a bit of money. I made the decision to be alright with this, despite the fact that I was earning a mediocre salary as a mechanic. I was just happy to spend my money on someone I love, and I made the assumption that Claire loved me for who I was, regardless of how much money I was making, or else she would not still be with me. We were married in a classy and expensive wedding 5 years ago, with dozens of our friends and family present, and it took about a year to plan the wedding and over a year's salary to pay for it. But again, I was doing it for love. Claire showed me in her own way how much she loved me, so it felt worth it to give her the special day of her dreams. Married life was pretty great for us, though we did not live the most lavish lifestyle. We still enjoyed ourselves and lived well. Despite the fact that I was not overflowing with money, I did take the time to buy Claire gifts here and there, and we went back to Malta on our second wedding anniversary to remember where our journey began. All in all, I would say that we had a modest but comfortable life, and I was happy with it. It seemed like Claire was too, at least until things started to change. About 2.5 years ago, Claire got a call letting her know that a distant aunt of hers has passed away. She had not known her extremely well, but had spent a summer with her, and she was 14 years old then. A summer she considers a formative time for her. Despite not seeing her much, Claire talked about her aunt and the summer she spent with her quite often. It seemed like she was the only member of the family to still keep in contact with the woman, even if it was just a few letters here and there. Claire was quite upset when she got the news of her aunt passing, but was completely shocked to find out a few days later that she had left her quite a large inheritance. When I say large, well, I mean huge. It was enough money to drastically change our lifestyle, and apparently enough to change how satisfied Claire was with our current way of living. She began to get distant with me, choosing to go out and socialize with new friends that she made at the salon and boutiques she could now afford, instead of spending the night in with me. She would scoff at the budget-friendly meals I was making and insist we could afford much more and to splurge on a, good meal out. Things like that. It was quite difficult for me to deal with, as since it was not my money, I had no say in what she spent it on, but had so little in comparison that I could never afford to match what she set her sights on. I had hoped that she was just getting used to the fact that she had so much money and was having some fun before settling down again, but oh boy, I was wrong. After a few months of reckless and extravagant spending, I'd made the decision to sit Claire down and have a serious conversation with her about the money, but I never got the chance. One morning, I woke up to an empty bed and a note from Claire, explaining that she left me. She wrote that she felt limited by my income and was going off to live the life that she'd always wanted to live, without me slowing her down. She even wished me all the best with my modest life and said she'd send a postcard from wherever she ended up. My heart was in pieces. Not only did Claire leave me, but she undermined the comfortable life I'd provided her for with the last 3 years of marriage. Sure, I'd known that she had an expensive taste, but she agreed to marry me, and had willingly taken part in our cozy lifestyle over the years. I could not believe that the prospect of financial freedom had seemed like such a better offer than love and companionship that I've been giving her. Well, it took quite a lot to move past those events. It's been 2 years now since Claire left me, and I'm only just beginning to heal from the hurt that she caused me. As I mentioned, my previous girlfriend before her had mentioned that my low income had been a factor in the end of our relationship. And then Claire had left me to go chasing more money. It was a heavy blow both to my heart and my ego. And only now I'm accepting that if I'm happy with my financial situation, that's all that matters. The reason for me writing this story today is I've recently received a postcard from Claire postmarked from Paris, France. After 2 years of no contact with her, she's writing to me now, and it's throwing me for a loop. She wrote that she was just checking to see how I'm doing and that she misses me. The postcard is messing with my mind a little bit, undoing some of the progress I've made over the past 2 years, and I'd just like some support from this group if I can. I know this has been a long post so far, but I thought this would be a good place to post it, as I know some of the people here have gone through some similar experiences. So, if anyone could please send me some words of support and encouragement and staying strong. After getting contact from Claire, it would be so much appreciated. Thank you so much in advance. Update number 1. Hey everyone, I just want to thank you guys for the kind messages and checking in on me after my late post. It really means a lot to know that there's people out there who truly care about a stranger. For everyone who guessed that receiving the postcard would not be the last I heard of Claire, congratulations. You were right. It's been 2 weeks since I got the postcard, and 1 week since I got a knock on my front door revealing my long-lost wife. To be honest with you all, seeing Claire in the flesh was so strange. It would have been much more of a shock had she not sent the postcard the week before, though, so maybe that was her intention. Just to try to get me used to the idea of seeing her instead of just dropping in on me out of the blue. If it was her plan, then it definitely worked. While I was surprised to see her at my door, I was able to shake it off quicker than I would have thought. She told me that the reason for her return was that she'd finally realized that the love and companionship we shared was much more important than the money. She said that while she was able to go anywhere and do anything with her newfound financial freedom, that it meant nothing if she could not share it with the person that she loved. I asked her why it took her 2 years to realize this, and she replied that she'd been blinded by the glamour and luxury that the money brought with it, but that she'd recently realized how lonely and empty the lifestyle is without someone to share it with. I'm feeling conflicted, to be honest with you all. I'm not sure if I even fully believe Claire, but I also know that deep down I do still love her and want her to be a part of my life. Despite all the healing I've done over the past 2 years, the bottom line is that I loved her enough to make her my wife. I supported her, and I still want that even after what she's done to me. On the other hand, though, I cannot deny the fact that she was always materialistic from the moment I met her, and I can't be sure that this new revelation of hers is entirely truthful. Or even if it will last very long without her running off to chase the next big payout. As I said, Claire showed up on my doorstep a week ago, and I've been trying to figure out what to do ever since. We had a long talk that night, which was when she explained her reason for coming back, but I have not seen her since then, and when she asked me to take her back, I told her that I need some time and space to think about things like this. Well, she's been staying with a few of her friends in the past few days so as not to pressure me. To be fair to her, she does seem genuinely regretful for just up and leaving me, but also has been quite cryptic about what she's been up to the past few months since she's came to the moral realization. I'm just feeling quite confused in this situation. I don't know what to do, and I'm getting conflicting advice from everyone that I turn to. My best friend says to kick her to the curb after all the hurt that she's caused me. They were the ones to pick me up after she left, sitting through my drunken, rambling, angry tears and just know firsthand just how much her leaving really hurt me. My parents, on the other hand, always loved Claire despite her flaws, and have been wanting us to give them grandkids forever. They're from the generation where every issue was just swept under the rug, and so cannot comprehend how I even began to think about this for long. So, I'm turning to you, my internet support group. I've outlined my worries above and have a vague idea of what I want to do, but I would really love some advice from someone with an outside perspective. If you can give me some sort of insight into what I should do, please let me know. Thanks for reading. Update number 2. After my last entry, I was swarmed with messages left and right from people sending support and giving their advice on whether I should take Claire back or not. I just want to say thank you for all your kind words. And also I want to say before I get into touch how much I appreciate each and every one of you. I've never been part of a community like this before. I did not even get one hateful message, and that's something very new for me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay, now for the update again. A lot of you were right in the guess that Claire had not really changed, not her heart about valuing our love over fortune. I won't lie to you, I'd almost believed her when she told me that she'd rather have me than her money. Or maybe I just wanted to believe because the alternative was simply too painful. 2 weeks ago, I'd finally made up my mind about what I was going to do. Hey, I know I'll be disappointing a lot of you when I say this, but hey, it's the truth. I decided to take Claire back. I know that my self-esteem really needs a lot of work, and this decision is proof of that, but I'm finally owning up to that choice, and I'm just glad I did not get that far. I asked Claire to come over for a talk, and I had planned to tell her I wanted her back that night, but it seemed like the universe had other plans. We had dinner, and while she was in the bathroom, her phone lit up. I know I should not have, but I looked at her messages. I think I justified it by saying that what she had done to me was much worse, so that made it okay. Anyways, I saw messages from a man named Jack, asking her if the job was done. One of the messages specifically said, "Have you conned that sad man out of his money yet?" Well, I just knew that the message was about me. I could feel it. When Claire came out of the bathroom, I asked her who Jack was, and she tried to spin some lie about him being one of her accountants, but quickly dropped the act when she knew I was not buying it. After some fake tears and trying to play the victim, Claire admitted that she had met and gotten together with Jack while living in Paris, and that he had taught her how to scam. Wow. When her money ran out, she and Jack had begun conning tourists together in Paris, but it quickly became so tiresome. Claire remembered that I had some money saved up away over the years, and she and Jack decided to play the, quote, regretful wife scam in order to get my money. She never wanted me back, she just ran out of money and wanted to take mine. I told Claire to leave town now, or I'm going to call the police. We both knew I had zero evidence to have charged her with anything, but she must have decided it was not worth the effort anyways, because she left without a word. Not even an apology, just a smirk. I don't think she felt any remorse whatsoever for leaving me in the first place, or for trying to trick me into giving her my money. So, it's been 2 weeks since that night, and I have not heard anything from Claire. I'm relieved that this whole ordeal is over, but my heart's been broken yet again. I'm going to therapy twice a week now to try to heal from everything that's happened over the past 2 years, because it's really taken a toll on me and my mental health. All I can hope for now is that things in my life go back to the way that they were just a few months ago, stable and mundane. Then I can continue to move on and get over what Claire did to me. That's the end of my story for now. But before I go, I just want to say once again how much the support from the people in this group has meant to me over the past few weeks. The shoulders and listening ears that have been offered to me throughout this journey have been the only thing keeping me going, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Guys, I was repulsing at the fact that Claire only came back to scam him. I mean, I could not just sit there and take this. I'm so happy that at the end of the story, OP finally had some guts and said, you know what, Claire? We're over with. You ran out of money, you came back just to scam me, and if it was not for me finding that text message from your lover, you would have been successful. So guys, I want to ask you this. If you were in OP's position and, well, you get together with Claire, fall in love, and then get married, and then you find out this disaster that soon was to happen, what would you do? Would you respond like OP, or would you be worse? Would you be better? Let me know. Drop a comment down below and let's discuss this story, because it was definitely pretty crazy. I want to thank you guys for joining me on today's video. That's going to be all the content for today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for daily videos. I will see you guys in the next one, and just remember, it's cool to be kind. And one quick reminder, I'm coming out with Mr. Reddito's shirt soon. If you guys are interested and you would be interested in getting a shirt, let me know. Drop your comments down below. There's some really cool designs coming out, and I can't wait. I'll see you guys tomorrow.